Hello everyone and welcome to the Ingles table. I'm Caroline Taylor and today I'm going to be showing you how to make my delicious Greek lamb kebabs. I got everything I need at my local Ingles, so let's get started. So this is one of my favorite recipes ever. I love lamb, it's one of my favorites. And if you haven't tried it, I'm going to really encourage you to do that. Yes, it's got a little bit of a different flavor than a traditional red meat, but I just think it's delicious, and with all these beautiful sauces, they all just come together to make the nicest meal. So we love to do little Greek lamb chops, and I've done that in some of my other Ingles table recipes, and that might be my favorite, but this is so much fun on the grill when you're outdoors and it's warm and you don't want to be in a hot kitchen. And the nice thing is you can do everything in advance and literally have dinner on the table in 15 minutes if your grill's screaming hot. So we're going to kind of walk through this. I went to Ingles yesterday and picked up a couple of lamb loins. They're boneless. They're about, I don't know, this big, size of a piece of bread maybe. And they're a good inch thick. And that's what you want. You don't want anything cut thin. You don't want the chops. You want the loins. They just work better. So I went ahead and cut a little bit of the fat off. Don't cut all of it off because the fat's really going to impart a lot of flavor, and it's going to protect the meat and keep it nice and juicy during the cooking process, because you really want a nice high heat. What does that give you? It gives you brown, and brown gives you flavor. And I really love those little charred bits around the outside. I think that makes it so delicious. So I've got a lamb loin here, just enough for one person, and I'm going to go ahead and just season it right up. So I'm going to do a little bit of salt and pepper, but not too much, and I'll tell you why, because I've got a marinade for this that I really like, and I've made this marinade before. It is so easy. I'm going to go ahead and put my lamb in a little mixing bowl so I can go ahead and mix that up. I'm going to set this out of the way. Now this recipe, didn't make it in front of you because this is the easiest thing ever. Take one of your little old-fashioned jelly jars, the kind that have the lid, or even if you got one out of the grocery store and you just had your favorite jelly in it, as long as it's a glass jar with a nice tight lid. And so I put about 2/3 of a cup of olive oil, a couple of 3 or 4 tablespoons of water. I put the juice of 2 lemons. You can put more in there if you like, a little salt, a little pepper, some garlic powder, and some fresh dill. And dried is a perfectly acceptable replacement. Fresh garlic, dried garlic, doesn't matter. Put your fresh dill, dried dill, doesn't matter. Especially when your garden's coming in, take a minute and plant you some nice fresh parsley, oregano, get some dill in the garden. You will use it every single day. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put it in there. And everybody does the whisking thing, and I do normally, but I keep this in my refrigerator. I use it on everything. I use it as a marinade. I use it as a salad dressing. I drizzle it on food once it's done. Just make sure it's nice and tight lid. I don't want to tell you the story about the lid not being tight and it going everywhere. It's terrible. So I'm going to use this dressing. I'm going to use it as my marinade. Now I'll tell you, lamb can really withstand some marinating. So if you want to put this in early in the morning, or maybe even the night before, I wouldn't go any longer than that, go ahead and get it nice and marinated. Oh, and the other tip, use a room temperature meat. If you're going to marinate it the day before, obviously you can't do that, but take the meat, get it cut up, put it in your marinade, and if you're gonna cook it within like an hour or two, just leave it on the counter. It will be perfectly fine. And any type of red meat, actually any type of meat, I don't know anything that doesn't do better on a grill when you cook it at room temperature, because it cooks better, and it doesn't get, you get that warmth on the inside, so you're not screaming hot on the outside and burn, and then cold on the inside, which is not really a good combination. So I'm just gonna set this aside. This is going to do its own thing, and while I'm going to go ahead and do my skewers. Now it looks really pretty when you get a kebab at a restaurant and you've got the pepper and the onion and the mushroom and the meat, and then it starts all over again. That looks really good, but that doesn't cook properly. Your onions and your peppers and your zucchinis and mushrooms are not going to cook at the same rate that your lamb is. So although it's not as pretty, you can redo it before you serve it. but I always soak my skewers because they're going to burn on the grill and you don't want them falling apart. So really soak your skewers for at least an hour, and that way they'll withstand the high heat of the grill. So there's another tip for the day. And your peppers, obviously doesn't matter what color they are, but do make sure that they're all on the same skewer, because then you're going to ensure that everything is going to cook properly and at the right temperature, and you can really control it. I have made that mistake so many times, and I finally just said, give it up, just cook everything the way it was meant to be cooked. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get all these skewers skewered, and then we'll be right back. So I've got all of my pretty skewers already. I've got some nice thick cut zucchini that I got in the Ingles produce department. It's beautiful. Some onion, got some button mushrooms, and a big skewer of multicolored peppers. I had more than I needed today. But this is enough for one person. You're gonna say, wow, that's a lot. It's not a lot when it is gonna shrink up a little bit in the grilling process. So we're gonna take the same multifunctional, again, I use this all the time, and we're going to go ahead and we're just going to drizzle these. It's going to do two things. It's going to give it some beautiful flavor, and it's also going to keep it from sticking on the grill. So go ahead and just put some of that on there. We've already put the beautiful marinade on our lamb, and we're going to take one more break because I've got a screaming hot grill out back, and I'm going to put this on it, and we're going to be right back in a second. Okay, we just got back from the grill, and I've got a really pretty plate because I wanted it to look all fancy for you guys. So we've got our beautifully grilled peppers. We've got this wonderful lamb, which I like about medium rare. My husband likes it medium, but I like it medium rare. We've got some pretty zucchini, the onions, the mushrooms, very Greek inspired ingredients. And once again, we're going back to our pretty dressing, and we're going to go ahead and just drizzle it right over that, because there's nothing in here that needs to be heated. It's just beautiful. We're just going to do a pretty drizzle. Again, a little more in the middle of the table. You can serve this with rice. It's great with couscous, a nice big bed of maybe a romaine lettuce, whatever you like. But this is going to be a beautiful meal for your family. And thank you so much for joining me at the Ingles table, and be sure to check out the website for more tips, tricks, and recipes. And I'll see you next time.